All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 89. We have Constitutions, and then we also have Revenge.
Yeah, Revenge is probably not going to be something that we can actually get necessarily, though, as this was more of the actions of an organization.
That's
that
true.
led to,
Yeah. You can't get individual revenge.
Yeah, not really, especially in a big space opera like this.
Nope, but...
And Julian is not going to go out like MacGyver, probably, and just, solve everything personally.
Exactly, but an organization is a tempting place to start, and whether or not that is necessarily setting a good standard for things moving forward with how that gets done, who knows, we'll see. But, that could also be a way that the Iserlon Republic government and the Empire can, coordinate a little bit and, help each other.
There's possibilities that if the Church of Terra does a big attack in some way against the Empire, that we can have... enemy of my enemy situations.
Exactly. Yep.
But right now, the big thing is that we're in peacetime. So people who were soldiers need to start putting down their guns and putting down their...
roots. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Reinhard, you could do that too.
You could. You really could.
Yeah.
Given that, though, this is their plan to do some kind of subterfuge and intrigue, they need to get someone in the Empire, though.
Yes, indeed.
Who do they send?
That is an excellent question, because
there's no obvious choice in my mind.
Right, because I feel
you can't just send Shunkov.
Right, yeah, he wouldn't work.
Can't send Poplin.
Right, and while Frederica, I think, would be very effective, she's probably too important to send, but I don't know, maybe that would make her perfect for the task?
Maybe?
I don't know.
Julian also doesn't make sense, necessarily.
No, not yet.
Unless you just send everyone. That's the twist.
You send Mercats. No.
Keep
him safe.
I would think in some ways you almost have to send a squad of people. You can't just send one or two.
Sure, yeah.
But either way, okay, they're playing the long game. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Well, okay.
I kind of love this, and I also am kind of just shocked.
Right, it's
because I talked about this a little bit when the discussion when the end credits were playing. But this felt very soapy in a way that makes sense. It's basically the domino effect of, that big meme of Braunschweig being inbred, and then it leads to Reinhard getting laid, basically, it's just a ting, little domino here, boom, big domino here. And I understand the causality of it. It makes sense, but the setup for having an episode built around these two events, basically.
That are very different.
Yeah. And Reinhard having something that does make him a little bit question his mortality. Not question it, but basically fear
be aware of it. Yeah.
Be aware of it again. Yeah. But because the assassination attempt was so readily just thwarted, handily, just easily thwarted, he gets to have the awkward talk where, well, not really a talk, but he just gets to listen as the guy spits stuff at him that for the most part is true.
Yeah.
With regards to his interpretation of events.
Right. The stuff that happened.
Reinhard might have been able to do something.
Yep.
That is very much possible.
But.
All right, little technical hiccup there, but following back up with this, having a situation where we have Reinhard having to deal with all the stuff from the past, but having it be brought up in such a way where we now have to have, him basically relive it to the point that he ends up breaking down emotionally and needs support from Mariendorf in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't think he needed necessarily sex specifically.
No, but it's a
But it's something that makes sense from
from like a character perspective.
From like a character perspective.
Yeah, because this is something that could absolutely be done as a cliche if it didn't fit for the characters so well, but it really does, because if you think about it, the biggest like obstacle in the way of these two dumbasses when it comes to relationships getting together is their pride when it comes right down to it, and especially for Reinhardt, right? Because he is not willing to admit weakness or be vulnerable and things like that, right? Because the two people that he was able to be vulnerable with, that they ended up becoming great sources of pain for him, right? The fact that he isn't willing to go back and talk to his sister and reconcile is an example of that,
right?
So it makes sense that it would take something to break down his pride and make him really question himself as an individual to actually be willing to do anything different with regards to Mariendorf.
Right.
Because like his pride is in a lot of ways one of his greatest strengths, because he is so competent at so many things, and it is a compelling driving force.
Strong shoulders.
Exactly. That sweeps everyone up in him, right? To the point that when his shoulders randomly slump, it actually is like,
what the
takes Kessler back of like, am I actually seeing that? Right? But it can happen. And when it happens, he doesn't fully know how to deal with it. He's not equipped for that. And his youth shows.
Yeah, he does. And there is a point the narrator brings this up in an empirical way, that he's aware of his own immaturity.
Right.
But we don't know how, because immaturity is very vague of a word.
And awareness doesn't necessarily mean you know how to deal with it.
No. I would say for the most part, it actually does incur some element of that, because what it means is that he is aware that he is immature. We don't know in which areas he's more aware than others.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that when he, shows those signs of awareness, he then has at least the ability to act upon it. Whether or not he does, that's kind of irrelevant. But right now, he is, he is hyper aware of the fact that it was his moment of immaturity in this area that led to them sleeping together. And now he's kind of in a panic, kind of semi-romantic, awkward, mode of just, but like, also, shit, I might have abused my power to push her into a situation she didn't want to be in. Oh no! What have I done?
And I gotta say that I'm
gonna do right by her.
Right. I love that for all of the sort of like romantic comedy, sort of antics of like, oh no, I'm blushing and all that stuff. There are a lot of deeper reasons why Reinhardt is so perturbed by this. And while it can seem adorable on the surface from people that don't know him that well, there are reasons why it very much is not that. Because he started this whole conquest because some nobleman took his sister. Right? Went up to the father and said, "Here's some money, she's mine." Right? Because they were the Kaiser, right? They were in his position, and you can't say no to someone like that necessarily. And the thing is that Reinhardt so far has done a really good job of, in moderation, letting people tell him when he's wrong and all that kind of stuff, right? To show his blind spots and things like that. But still, pride is his weakness. So the idea that then he's like, oh, power dynamics. Maybe that was something that he genuinely wanted and did not think that he was using his position as Kaiser, right? But what he thinks and what ends up being communicated aren't necessarily the same thing, right? And while he is very close to Mariendorf, he has done many things to make sure that it doesn't become a friendship so much as a professional relationship.
Right.
And so then this is an instance where he, without words, basically tried to switch out of the professional relationship. And so that can get really complicated.
That can get really messy, because if you're doing that, you need to make sure that the other person is at the very least fully aware that they can say no in this instance here. But because we didn't actually see what happened after he said, "Please stay." And I think that's kind of incumbent in the way that he said, like, "Please stay the night." I don't think I can, I don't think I can get by the night alone. it was a request,
Mhm.
but it was also a more of a desperate cry for help.
Yep.
And that's not the context I think you want to be for your first time of sexual intimacy with someone.
No.
Because
it's a lot better than I'm the Kaiser, bed me.
Yes.
You know.
But it's essentially the same thing in certain contexts.
It's a different form of
make me feel better.
Sure. One of the things though that I gotta say I really appreciated with how they portrayed everything is that she goes and she sits next to him. Now, we don't know at what point they actually had sex, right? But it could have been, multiple hours after that where, he starts maybe talking about things or whatever, or
who knows?
Who knows?
It's not important. They didn't show it.
Right, exactly. But the fact that at the very least it was implied that it wasn't immediate gives me a better feeling about it being a more healthy thing for the two of them. Yes. Even though it's definitely messy and complicated.
Yeah, I would say that almost under any circumstances, Reinhard and Hilda, the reason why they're both so nervous about this is because it was something that they both maybe did not expect.
Sure.
And thus, when it happened, it shocked them.
Right.
And now afterwards, they're in this like, oh god, what did we do? Not what did I do to them, but like,
what have we done?
Or what did they do to me? But like, what have I done, and what have we started here that we might not be prepared for? And I think that's where Hilda's a little bit like understandable, like within like multiple contexts, not just the emotional one, because the way her dad was bringing up I actually wish at times you would listen more to your emotions at times rather than just
your thoughts.
But I think here, what might have happened just potentially is that it was actually a bit of an awkward power dynamic. And initially she was like, yeah, okay, yes, your majesty, But the fact that, she came out of this, her first thing that she did after waking up, left, like ditched out of there quickly, went back to her shower and showered, didn't talk to anyone.
Yep.
She had the slumped shoulders. That was embarrassment. That I don't think that was entirely shame necessarily.
Right, like and that's why I'm glad that they showed that she was blushing and smiling in the shower, even though she was slumped shoulders and everything.
Yeah, and I think what it is that she might be seeing this like completely the wrong way, in that she messed up.
Oh, sure.
In that she thinks that maybe she was supposed to
because
not let this happen.
Right.
But it's like, no, like in some ways she maybe understands just enough how Reinhard is so weak in these moments.
Right. But she has had those moments of realizing like, that's right. He's really maybe 25 or something, or however old he is.
He really does, show his age at times.
Right.
But I think this was one of those ones here where they might both be completely blameless here in any context, because they were both so completely like,
right.
And that's kind of the response you'd want, is like, sure. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to. I really care about you.
Like,
let's talk about this, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because mind if I go through like all the different like the litany of reasons that go through my mind of like why they're freaking out about this?
Maybe not all of them, just kind of the ones you think it is.
Well,
like,
I think it's a lot of them.
There's too many. I think.
Sure, but like just to go through a few. Okay. There's the usual big emotional development, and what does this mean for changing like my personal life and things like that. But then on top of that, it's the balance of the galaxy, or the universe, basically.
The political implications.
The political implications, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the whole thing of the Mariendorf probably was specifically wanting to make sure that she kept this professional in the past, because she did, have those moments of sort of like, oh, what do I feel about him, right? But then on top of that, there might have been the angle of her own sense of duty in a way of the Kaiser is clearly not well. I want him to be able to do well, so I'm at the very least going to stay with him here, and I sit with him here, and then in the end that ends up going somewhere that she maybe didn't expect it to, right? But like there's so many different things, and then from Reinhardt's perspective, there's the whole power dynamic thing, and then what do I even do in this situation? And he does the thing that Mittermeier did that was the sort of the adorkable blunder, you know, of just like, I'll get a shit ton of flowers.
Yeah. I think, though, that you graced over the other iteration of this, which is not a good one, which is that he literally just did the exact same thing with Mariendorf that the other Kaiser basically did with his sister.
And it makes sense that he would be incredibly
sensitive to that.
Incredibly sensitive to that, not just because of the thing that happened to his sister, but also this happened literally after he got his own mistake thrown in his face, and he started to realize, I very much can err. And because I'm in a position of power,
he knows that he can err. This is a scale of magnitude.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is that when he messes up, it's big.
Okay, I thought this was more of a thing of where this is literally the one thing that I never paid for, and thus I deserve nothing here. I do not deserve to be Kaiser if I needed to do this. Like, in his own mind, I think Reinhardt forgot about this. I think he forgot about this. I think, based on the way that they've been showing him, it was something that he went and was like, oh, this was a tragic accident, but it was the horrible evil of Braunschweig that led to this. But the realization of, oh, no, it wasn't
I'm
just
not infallible.
that.
Yeah.
Well, no. Sorry. Let me keep talking here. The idea that Oberstein was like, oh yeah, I absolutely manipulated that. Because I was wanting to save more lives. I was trying to end the war as fast as possible.
Yep.
Reinhardt is blameless. You should have tried to shoot me, and you might have actually succeeded unless...
right, I'm not as important.
Well, right, unless people would have tried to defend me, potentially.
Yeah, some might have been like, oh no, I'm not going to stop
I don't think they would have been able to tell whether or not they would be going for Oberstein or Reinhardt, and they would have done the same thing. But the idea that Reinhardt was so shaken up by it, I think wasn't a thing of where he's like, oh... Like, I've been thinking about this all along, and then someone brought it up. Oh, no. Someone brought it up.
It's the ghost from the closet, you know.
It was the ghost that was so buried deep down that he's like, I'm a busy man. I am not thinking about that kind of stuff.
3 years ago is an eternity.
Yeah, it was, exactly. It was, 60 episodes ago.
Right, yeah.
So, from that perspective, I think he actually did forget, and it was the realization of, how many more things maybe have I trampled on? And from a slightly different perspective, all it takes is looking at it from just how many people have I killed? And it's not a thing of him being like, I'm now fallible. It's just, oh, right, I am a murderer. I am a butcher. I've done all those things. All this guy's stuff is saying is right.
Yeah, like the previous Kaiser that he so despised
was incompetent and lazy.
Well, right, incompetent and lazy, but in a lot of ways he had probably done less horrible things than Reinhardt. like
maybe less great things, but also less horrible things.
Right,
potentially.
So it's like, Reinhardt, like you have done some things that are not to be proud of.
Right.
Now, I love that he was like, I'm not sure or not whether that makes it so that I might still deserve the title of Kaiser, probably because of the whole idea of it being a cutthroat game in general. But I don't deserve the praise of the people.
Right.
And that's something that I love, because it's the well, it feels kind of like that the death of certainty of the moving out of the youth, right? Of when it's everything is black and white, and I'm going to overthrow the evil empire for the heinous thing that they did to my sister, and all this stuff, and so I'm on the right side, and I'm the champion, I'm the champion of the people and all this stuff, and oh wait, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah. And I love that they're having this happen around this age for Reinhardt, because I ended up, granted, the ramifications for it were much less, but I ended up experiencing a similar thing that apparently is pretty common around that age, because like the brain starts to rework its like its shape and stuff. And
the quarter life crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I love that Reinhardt is undergoing this, because it absolutely makes sense, and it's the kind of thing.
Metamorphosis, my nephew.
Exactly, and he needs something like that. He has needed something like that in order to break him down, so that way he can either, find a peaceful ending and resolution, and find that mountain to go hiking on, or at the very least, so that he can go through that metamorphosis and become that next stage. Because there are plenty of people who have come before him in history that have done these kinds of things, but they never really end well. And so this is kind of your true test, Reinhardt. Not can you conquer the galaxy, can you be a good ruler?
Can you end this well? Can you leave something better
Stick
than
the
what you
landing
left behind? And yes, this all works out perfectly as foreshadowing for them potentially adopting a constitution.
Yeah.
And that the plans of what's going on in Iserlon actually does succeed, because this kind of thing now weighs heavily on his mind.
Yep.
Not just with regards to how does he do right by the actions of the present and the past, but also the future. So, hey, at the very least, having Mariendorf around makes things easier, right, Reinhardt?
Yep.
So, I mean, you are a ruler, and thus maybe romance is impossible for you. Maybe.
But if it were to be possible with someone, it'd be her.
But if it were to be possible with someone, it would be her. And that's partially because it's convenient.
Sure.
But it's also because, she feels so strongly about all this. Probably because on some level, she really doesn't want to hurt you.
Yeah. In the same way, maybe, that you don't want to hurt her.
Yep.
And maybe, just maybe, even amidst all this craziness and the massive ramifications of your actions and the responsibilities that you both bear, you can find some give and take that is actually healthy, that isn't like those lecherous nobility that you despised so much, right?
Yep.
Where you can be adorkable together and have dinner with the Mittermeyers, and Ruenthal will just be sort of like, I'm not sure how I feel about this,
No, he'll look at Reinhardt. He's like, oh, Reinhardt did it. Well, then I must figure out something on that front too.
Right. Yeah. Either he has fallen from the lofty position I held him in, or
is he transcended even beyond that?
Did Mittermeyer just get to him, or Yeah.
See, no, it's the whole thing of I sometimes I vibe with Mittermeyer so much, but it's the whole thing of when you've been telling your friend this thing constantly, but then they get a girlfriend, and the girlfriend tells them the exact same thing you are, and then they finally listen, and they're like, dude, I've done this thing, and it's so good, and they've forgotten that you've been telling that for like 5 years, and you're like, yeah.
I'm happy for you,
bro.
Happy
for you, dude. Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
man.
My life to suffer, But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.